Hello, everyone. Welcome in. My name is Magna. I am the event manager here at Booklarder. We are in the Fremont neighborhood of Seattle. If you are just joining us, feel free to use the chat function at the bottom of your screen to let us know where you're listening from today. We're going to get this started in just a few moments here. Wait for a few more folks to log in. But again, my name is Magna. It's such a pleasure to have you all here in our virtual Zoom room. Hello, Monica from Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome. One of the, I think, interesting surprises of the last couple months, or I guess the last year of doing virtual events, is that we are here at Booklarder able to welcome guests from all over the country and all over the world. So thank you for joining us today. Got hello to Barbie in San Francisco. Hello, Lisa in Los Angeles. Joy's in Atlanta. You've got Evelyn in North Seattle, and Poonam is in Fremont. Welcome, everyone. So today we are here to hear from Maria Zizka, the author of Boards, Platters, Plates, this lovely new book. I think it's perfect for summertime, especially as folks are starting to gather again and entertain, whether you're indoors or outdoors. Maria is going to demonstrate how to make the board that's on the cover. It's called La Parisienne, so stay tuned for that. And she's going to be joined by Liz Prueitt of Tartine Bakery. So I'm going to introduce them in just a few moments here, but we'll get started with that in just a moment. The book Boards, Platters, and Plates is available at booklarder.com. I will put a link in the chat for anyone that's interested in checking out the book or purchasing a copy from us. And then we will do questions. If you have any questions for Maria or Liz, do put them in the question and answer Q&A function at the very bottom of your screen. There's a button where you can submit any questions, and we will get to those towards the end of the event. We'll try to get to as many as we can, so thank you for bearing with us. You can also use the chat function here on the side to speak with other attendees, share your comments or your feedback. Just make sure you select the All Panelists and Attendees button if you would like everyone to see your message. All right, so again, we are really excited to host Maria Zizka. Maria is a cookbook writer and recipe developer who's named by Forbes as one of the most influential people under 30 in the world of food and drink. Maria has co-authored numerous award-winning cookbooks, most recently Tartine All Day, Everything I Want to Eat, and This is Camino. Her first solo cookbook, The Newlywed Table, was published in 2019. And Maria lives in Berkeley. She's joining us today from Kensington, I believe, which is just outside of Berkeley. She's there with her husband, and you can find her on Instagram at Maria Zizka. She's again going to be joined by Liz Prueitt, who is a James Beard Award-winning pastry chef, cookbook author, and the co-founder of the very well-known Tartine Bakery and Tartine Manufactory. She lives in San Francisco, and she's in San Francisco today. So I'd like to welcome both Maria and Liz. Thank you so much for joining us today. And also for anyone that's here today and interested in buying a copy of Boards, Platters, Plates, we are going to be giving away a $50 Goldbelly gift certificate, good for any Tartine orders through goldbelly.com, to one person who purchases a copy of Boards, Platters, Plates through us. So you have until Thursday, 5 p.m. PST to buy your copy, and we will select a winner. We'll email you and send you your gift card after that. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome both Maria and Liz. Thank you again. So excited to have you both.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Maria.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you, Liz. I'm so grateful.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for the introduction as well, Booklarder. And so Maria, first, of course, I just want to show your book. This is what we're going to be talking about today. And Maria is going to be making La Parisienne, as was said, which I happen to have bookmarked here, and it is beautifully photographed, I should say, by Erin Scott, and a wonderful Bay Area photographer. And this is what we're going to be watching Maria making. So there's half, and then that's the other part. And I'm very excited to get started. So Maria, tell us, give us an overview maybe quickly of the book, which of course is called Boards, Platters, and Plates. How did you come up with the idea for this?
Well, this is kind of how I eat almost every night of the week. And I just love eating like this. I think it's so fun. And I had kind of been doing it, not really realizing. And it was like every night for dinner, I would either put together a board where I'd have a few different things. And usually it was like something I had, maybe one thing I had made, but then a couple of other things that I had bought from the store, or like a really beautiful, I don't know, peach if it was summer, something easy to kind of make it abundant. Or if I wasn't making a board, then I was making a bowl, which is the other book that came out at the same time as Boards, Platters, Plates, called One Bowl Meals. There it is. Thank you for showing that. And so that it was like either or. I was either eating a board or a bowl. And I started to think that, gosh, these would make two really complementary cookbooks that could kind of go together, but stand on their own as well.
I can imagine that. Is that noise loud outside? Maybe not.
I don't know.
Okay. Let me know if it's. So I can imagine that when you were putting one of the books together, you could have thought to put them together, but I know as you're going along and developing recipes, you just think of so many things, and you probably thought this could fill a whole book. And is that, I just can see how that happened.
Yes. Yeah, you know exactly how it is. You come up with ideas, and then you think, oh, that gives me another idea. And then all of a sudden you've got too many ideas. You have to cut it down.
Exactly. And I think this is how a lot of people like to eat. I know I grew up eating like this. My mom gardened a lot. I know you love to garden.
Yes.
And as you were saying, it's something that you probably had already, like a jam or toasted nuts, or you already have some preserved meats, or you have some cheese. And then you build on that if you have some bread and et cetera, et cetera. But so I like how you had themed a lot of these. So we'll segue and tell us how this came together.
So this board that I'm so excited to show you is kind of like my dream. It's sort of a dream of something that I've never really done, but always wanted to do, which is, picture yourself in Paris, maybe it's April, springtime, and you're sitting outside in a beautiful place, and you have a picnic of all kinds of things that you might be able to buy, if you were a tourist and you were just visiting and staying in a hotel or something. So it has radishes, which I love, and feel so, French and springy to me. And then these sandwiches that this is one of my favorite ways to put together kind of a large serving of sandwich, which I think is a really fun thing to serve and share with people. And actually, I was really inspired by you, Liz, with this sandwich recipe, because in your book, you have the pan bagnat with the, it kind of soaks and it's really juicy and full of olives and tuna and all kinds of things. So this is the same idea, is that you get a whole baguette and you cut it vertically, which is like a little tricky to do on, a cutting board without wobbling too much. So I usually go in half and then cut it vertically this way. Yep. And then it's great because you can just make a whole baguette's worth of sandwich and cut it into little two bite-sized pieces. And so it's kind of an easier way to put together a big serving.
And I think it also makes it a nice option for carrying. If you're gonna go to the beach, or if you're gonna take a picnic, all of this stuff just packs so nicely and works so well. Or just outside. I mean, this is how my family, I grew up on the East Coast, and we just ate outdoors all summer long. And it's just like easier. And I like it too, because everybody can, and this is the thing that's just so great about the whole angle of your book, is that you kind of like can custom make your own little thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Super flexible and really adaptable. So you can do it within, when you're eating the board, you know, you can have a bite of this followed by a bite of that, or none of the, you know, one thing if you're sharing. But also in putting the board together, like if you couldn't find baguette, but you found a different kind of bread, you could do the exact same thing with it. If radishes weren't looking good, and some, you know, beautiful little cucumbers could stand in their place, and it's really easy to sub in and out and make it exactly how you want it.
I think what I also like about this, so I want to zero in on one aspect of this, and this goes for the rest of the book too, is that you have wonderful little lessons interspersed in the book. So in this one in particular, for La Parisienne, you have the perfect 7-minute egg. So tell us about that, because everybody, and I went over this in my book too, because I'm always wanting to know how to get that perfect, you know, when you want to get that dot in the center. So tell us about that.
Yes, that's exactly how I feel. You want all of the white cooked, of course, but you want just a little bit of runniness in the yolk, not too much. So through a lot of trial and error, I figured out that you have to start, there are 2 different ways people go about this, but I usually start by bringing the water to a boil and then adding the eggs and starting the timer right then, rather than.
And do you turn your heat off? So you bring the water to the boil, eggs in,
and then I keep it at a slow boil, kind of
low simmer, like a simmer. Okay.
A simmer. And you have to set the timer for exactly 7 minutes. Right. Not 6.5, not 7 and 15 seconds, 7 exactly.
And what size eggs are you cooking?
These are large eggs. And another key is that they're fridge cold. So
they're, okay. So
it's different from their room temp. Yeah. These are straight out of the fridge into the boiling water for 7 minutes. And I find that it's reliably exactly how I want it cooked.
So give us a close-up of that perfect egg.
Yes. Okay. So here they are I cooked these ahead of time, and cracked and peeled them. And let me cut one. This is always, you sort of hold your breath a little bit, and hope that it's perfect. Let's see. Looks good. So on the knife, there's just like that tiny bit of yolk left.
There you go.
From the egg.
That's a beauty.
Hopefully you can see.
So much. I mean, to some people, maybe this would be like going too into the minutia, and for other people, it's not enough. There's like a whole thing around that perfectly cooked egg, and there are a number of ways of doing it.
Yeah.
And some people, I remember, I think it was Peggy Smith was teaching me how to do this, and I hope I'm right about that, but they turned the heat off.
Yeah.
And that's one way. And I can't even remember what I wrote in my books. I haven't made those eggs in a long time, but it's such a particular thing. All right, so let's move on for those people who are bored by egg cookery. Okay, so you've got your radishes, your eggs, and what are you putting down on your baguette first?
Yes. Okay, so this board has actually 2 options for sandwiches. So you can get, the recipe is this serves 8 to 10. It's a big party size board. But tonight I'm just making it for my husband and I, so it's just 2 of us. And so I got 1 baguette, and I'll do half for one sandwich and then the other half for the other kind of sandwich. So one of them has goat cheese spread down first, kind of like the way you would use, you know, like mayonnaise or mustard or something. In this case, I use just a really soft, fresh goat cheese. This one has some fresh herbs in it, you can see.
Nice.
Which I really like, I think is nice for this. So you just spread it thickly like butter. Hopefully you can see this.
Yep, you can see it.
Oh, good. On one side. And yeah, this will just be like a really nice creamy base that we're going to top with some roasted squash that I roasted in the oven ahead of time.
Right. So you've got tiny roasted summer squash, goat cheese sandwiches, and the comté. That's simply on the side that you're having on the board with the eggs. What kind of squash did you roast here? How did just give us like a quick idea of how you roasted them?
So this is one of my favorite ways to do it. You can see, let me see if I can hold it up without it all sliding. They're little coins of squash. So it's like the you know, like small zucchini, the long ones, not the round ones. Cut it into little coins, and then I put them on a baking sheet. And drizzle with oil, sprinkle with salt and pepper, and then just roast in the oven at 425. It takes like 25, 30 minutes. You can flip them, and then some of them will get like that nice golden brown bits around the edges. And it's so easy. I mean, it's just olive oil, salt and pepper, nothing more.
And I want to emphasize a couple of things there. That you want a nice high heat.
Yes.
And because I think browning in the oven can sometimes be challenging and maybe even a little confusing for some people. And you can also get them just so they're sort of steamed and not as full of flavor as if they got some nice color on them. So you want to make sure that they're not crowded, just as Maria has them spaced. And that's why you want that nice high heat. And it's going to vary if you have a convection oven or not. And I like to pop my oven door open on it because of my glasses. If I open the door, my glasses will steam up, so I can very quickly tell if there's like a lot of moisture building up in there. And as was said at the commencement speech at my graduation ceremony at CIA, the chef instructor said, "Just remember, moisture is the enemy of browning." And so
I love that.
It was like in 1992, and I have never forgotten. It's a good lesson for everybody. And so, so you've got your roasted squash, and I love this too because then you have vegetarians covered.
Yeah, it's a great option for vegetarians, and I think that's nice to do, especially if you have a big, you know, you're serving 8 to 10 people. Probably there'll be some who, you know, aren't eating meat or eating less meat. And so it's just nice to have a little variety too.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got our baguettes split and goat cheesed. And then what are you going to do for your platter next? Somebody asked to see the cover, and maybe for late joiners, I'm just going to show the picture again of what Maria is making. So you have, of course, just something fresh. Also, this is also what I wanted to go over. This is a good point. In all of these boards, you have fresh, you have roasted, salty, crunchy, soft, salty, tangy, sweet. All of this is what makes this kind of eating for me so addictive, I think,
Me
because you
too.
want to keep going back and eating and tasting and trying different combinations of things.
Right.
And even if it's fresh fruit, or if you have honey as you do, or if or some preserves. I know you have like a fig preserve in here that's so many good store-bought kinds, or you can make your own. But figs especially, I think fig preserves go so incredibly well with cheeses.
Really,
But that's such a, it kind of like creates a nice cohesive board. So if you're looking at your whole board, even whether you have a theme or not, I think to cover all those little bits, nuts for crunch and for savoriness. You have the cornichons in here.
yes.
Pepper grinder, I think, is always a good thing too, right? You've got the fresh ground pepper and your eggs. So, okay, so how else are you going to continue there? And here's the other.
That's such a good point about the variety, and I want to say too that the store-bought stuff is awesome. Like when you put together a board, you have the best boards have probably 3 or more components, but you don't want this to take all day to cook them. You can't, you could, I suppose, if you really wanted to cook everything. And what's so nice about boards is that it's like they operate on this continuum from shopping on one end all the way up to cooking. And in between is where all these boards are. And you can kind of choose if you want to do more of an assembly job where you go and you buy really delicious things, and not just from the grocery store, but like if I were to make this for a party for friends, one of the things I would consider doing is going to Tartine and getting the ham sandwich, the ham and Gruyere sandwich, and bringing it home, cutting it into little smaller pieces, and putting it on the board. And it's a wonderful way to show your favorite restaurant foods or favorite deli stuff. And it can be very complimentary with some, just some really easy, raw, crunchy radishes next to it and something pickled. It's so fun I don't know about you, but I love the aisle of the store that has all of the pickles and preserves, all the jarred stuff. I just love.
I know, I love jarred stuff. Well, also, I think, I was just saying this to somebody, is that we've all, of course, been cooking so much at home, and I love it. And like everybody's been making bread and sauerkraut.
Right.
But I think we also have fatigue from that. And I know, like, I just bought a brand of, a New York City brand of pre-made chimichurri sauce, even though I love to make it. But I wanted to buy a piece of fish and put something delicious on it. And I look at this in the same way. In fact, kudos to your perfect timing with this book, which nobody planned on.
I had no role in,
But it's so, it really is timely, because we're kind of tired, but we're also going to be gathering finally with friends and family. And this is exactly the type of thing that you want to do, because you don't want to do a ton of cooking. We're all newly back with people. And I think that this also offers, like, it's just like how so many people for a dinner party, you congregate in the kitchen area. You just want to be around the food. And that's kind of like, I keep seeing articles about like, how do we socialize again? Like
we all forgot. Yeah.
We forgot. We're all confused. And this just seems like such a great, nice, easy way of making something, but then just like go out, buy some great pre-made things. even if
Oh,
it's
I
a
love
sandwich, you know, and just get on with it. Get on with your
Yeah.
gathering.
And
Yeah.
and I'm so glad to hear that. I feel that way. And I feel that way. I don't know about you, but like even just in my usual life, if I've done a lot of cooking that week, maybe I'm working on a new book project and I'm, you know, a little tired of cooking, it happens to all of us, then it's the perfect thing to go and buy something special that I want to share with friends that I might not necessarily get just for myself, but I feel like, oh, well, if friends are coming over, then let's open this, you know, beautiful sour cherry jam or whatever it is. And it's nice too, because if you're just starting out cooking and you don't have a ton of experience, then it feels very accessible to put together a board. And if you're a really experienced cook, someone like you, Liz, then you could make all the different components and you could make a really special thing. So it's like all for all types of cooks.
You could, but I probably wouldn't. Okay, so do you have your board there?
So, okay, so after this is the goat cheese went on this baguette, and then you just tile the squash on. And then I like to put a little bit of fresh oregano. I have,
yeah,
that's gorgeous. It's really nice with squash, but any kind of fresh green herb sprinkled on top. I also got some dill here, little dill fronds over the squash. Just something to add a little, you know, you have the roasted flavors from the oven and just a little bright green freshness adds a lot. So
somebody was actually asking, what are some of your favorite greens?
Oh, I love greens. I eat salad every single day of my life.
You do really?
I do. Yeah, that's my diet book. Eat salad every day.
What's your current favorite salad to make?
Oh, well, right now we've been making lots of just really simple, you know, butter. I love butter lettuce right now. I kind of go in and out of phases of falling in love with one thing. And I went deep into Radicchio Treviso love affair this winter. Those purpley leaves that just look like gemstones. But right now I'm really into butter lettuce, and I've been loving a super anchovy dressing, like anchovies, eating some whole fillets on the butter lettuce leaves themselves after. Kind of like a deconstructed Caesar, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was just going to say that that's such a nice change from just romaine, which is delicious with the Caesar, but I just love any salty pickly thing. And even for people who don't really like fish, my mouth just started watering. When you make a dressing, or even just like drape your anchovies or sardines on the salad, it just adds such a delicious dimension to it.
Yeah.
And I love the idea with the dill as well. I think dill I just started growing it. And it's just so beautiful growing. It has such different foliage from anything else, but it's really underutilized, I think.
I think so too. Yeah, and I love to put whole herbs like dill, the soft green ones, probably not something like oregano, but you know, basil, parsley, chervil, the whole herbs into a salad is one of my favorite things.
Me too. Yeah, herb salads are just delicious.
Love it.
It's so good for you. Okay, so what would you recommend to drink with this La Parisienne? I have a recommendation. Do you?
Oh, I want to hear yours. I mean, I think you go first.
Okay. The thing I immediately thought of was a good hard cider, very dry, and because I love that with the cheese, the egg, just like all those flavors are so delicious, I think, with hard cider.
That's brilliant. I hadn't thought of that. I love that. Yeah, something.
I mean, wine is a no-brainer. Chablis, something like really crisp to go through.
Refreshing. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So maybe something a little bubbly. Could
Bubbly.
be. Yeah, something that would feel really refreshing alongside all of these, cheese and eggs, and there's ham on the other sandwich. So something to kind of cut through the richness.
And I think actually you could say that for almost all of them that I can think of, because this kind of board, just by nature, tends to be maybe you could say a little on the richer side, because I think the seed of it is cheese, like cheese and preserved meats,
right?
For many of them, not all of them. And then also you have nuts. And so there are things that you really just want something light and crisp and refreshing in between. The first picture that I saw, I'm just going to show some of these because they're just so gorgeous, is this very, very classic rendition of a board with fresh fruit, nuts, and fresh fruit and dried fruit.
I love to do that, to pair both the fresh version with the dried version of the fruit is a really fun
That's
thing.
very, very clever, very smart. I didn't even, you're right. Yeah. Because you have the fresh cherries and the dried cherries on there. And I love honey. I know people like honeycomb on cheese boards, but I don't know. Do you like honeycomb?
It's beautiful. It's really gorgeous.
I like it in theory, but in practice, I don't find it
it's messy.
very practical.
Yeah.
Really,
It's true. It's true.
Right.
I know. Yeah, it's kind of like it's there for the looks.
It's very, very fancy, but
Yeah.
it's not practical at all. And so have you finished your board?
So, okay, so we got this one sandwich that then I would just cut into, I kind of like, I'm curious what you think, but I kind of like a 2-bite size piece or something like that. Kind of the size of like, an egg half. Because I don't know, if it gets too small, it starts looking like confetti. And if it's too big, then it's unwieldy and nobody's going to pick it up and eat it. And you just really want people to think like, I have to grab that right now and put it in my mouth. So I like it sort of a 2-bite size. So you cut the sandwich. And then the other one, the other baguette or other half of the baguette is the meat option. So for this one in the book, it's like the goat cheese, you use a really good salted butter to make the first layer.
Very classic. There's the meat option.
Yeah, right. Ham and butter sandwich, super classic for a reason. It's so good. You kind of can't go wrong. And so good. I love to find, this is the butter that I picked up yesterday. I have never tried this brand before.
I can't see it. What brand is it?
It's, you should pronounce the French, not me. It says Bourg.
Oh, Dussigny.
Dussigny. I'll let you say all the French words, Liz.
That's a good butter.
Do you know this one? I've never tried it, but it's really fun to go into the butter aisle and, again, like the jars, to try these different butters. The European ones that are salted are so good and so much better than just, the regular stuff.
They have a butter. They make one with seaweed in it, and it is out of this world. There's like fancy butters, of course, with like truffle and stuff, but this seaweed butter is unbelievable.
Wow.
I've been doing a lot of butter research lately.
Oh,
and there's a lot of little butter makers all across the States, but especially like in the bigger dairy states, Vermont, of course, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, obviously. But yeah, there's lots of small butter makers, and I think that it's just, there's nothing better than,
Nothing
I just
better.
love butter on bread or a cracker.
Yes, me too. I could eat that every meal.
Yep.
And it's fun to explore them. So the butter goes down, and then you use a really good, sliced ham that just goes right on top. I found I could only find prosciutto. So I have this one. And I was thinking that it didn't quite fit in my head that prosciutto would go with salted butter. It felt like too much, almost too rich. So I was thinking that if you were to use prosciutto, what I would do, and what I'll do for this sandwich, is drizzle a little bit of olive oil on the bread instead of butter. And just super easy drizzle. You don't have to measure at all. And then I think what might be kind of interesting is to put a few drops of balsamic vinegar on top and kind of let it soak into the baguette. So I'll just drizzle a little bit. And then you just fold the prosciutto on, and I think the more billowy that you can make, sliced cured meat is a little tricky to style on a board, I found.
I know, you want to get some folds and air in there.
Exactly, yeah, tons of air.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite sliced ham to recommend to people?
I love my favorite one is made by Framani, which is here based in the Bay Area, and it's a rosemary ham, and it is so good. It's just fantastic. This prosciutto is made by La Quercia, who I really like as well. They make speck and different kinds of prosciutto. This is just the classic prosciutto, and they're an American company. Most of the prosciutto is, that I love is from Italy, of course, but I think La Quercia is doing it right here. Delicious.
Somebody was just commenting on a local farm, and I'm sorry if I missed others, but one of them was for a butter called Lucky Layla's butter. And I'm not sure where that is, but people can Google it to find a new small butter producer.
It's almost like this whole world that I didn't really realize. Butter producers.
It is, I know. There's not been a lot of talk in the world of butter lately. And, I've been doing research into it, and it's really very interesting topic in and of itself. There's a great book, I think it's just called Butter, and it's by Elaine Kozrova, Khosrova. And a friend was telling me about it, and I said, oh, like that sounds vaguely familiar, but I'll have to look it up. And I ordered it, and I looked at the back of it, and I had provided a blurb for that book. And so I apparently read all about butter.
No, you
found
love
it
it
absolutely fantastic book. So I'll have to reread it. But that's a great source if anybody wanted to dive deeper into that subject. And okay, so continue with the rest of your board.
Okay, so you just, as we said, you get lots of air, billowy with this, putting on the cured meat. Like
ribboning it on.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to describe it. Yeah, ribbons. And this might be obvious, but I wanted to mention it too, that with cured meat and cheese, one of the things that I've learned is that you don't really want them fridge cold when you're serving it.
Good point.
Yeah, that's how we all store them, of course, but just take them out of the fridge a couple hours before you want to eat it, and when it's at room temperature, it has so much more depth of flavor than when it's chilled, because when it's chilled, everything's dulled a little bit.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Well, the colder something is, the less flavor comes through, which is why we add so much sugar to ice cream.
Right. Right.
For other reasons too, but that's one of them. And actually, as you're talking, I'm also going to hold up a few other pictures. This is like in a completely different direction, but take a look at this board that Maria made. It is called, this one is called Chicken Dinner. Okay, aptly named. And look at how gorgeous this is. Maria's chicken, would you say those are chicken nuggets? How do you describe them?
Yeah, popcorn chicken, I think I call it.
Popcorn.
In that, my favorite size, 2 bites.
There was a question here. Wait, how do I find these questions again? Where's those?
I love that size for fried chicken. I mean, I love like a classic, chicken leg too, but there's something so fun about that size for a party.
Let me tell you, well, it is party size. And but let me tell you, when you have a coating that is that perfect and that spot on, I just have to show it again. It's like you just want to eat as much of that delicious, perfectly cooked coating as possible.
Yeah, that's probably another reason. Yeah, more crunch factor.
It just hits that perfect thing of like crunchy on the outside and soft on the inside that we love, like on so many things. And that looks like cornbread that you have with it. Yeah.
Yep, cornbread and kind of a homemade ranch dipping sauce.
I know, and I loved the recipe for that ranch, and because you've got just a ton of flat leaf parsley chopped in there, dill, chives.
I love chives. One of my favorites.
I know, me too. A little smoked paprika, underused. I think everybody should get that. Pimenton is another word for it, right?
Yep.
And just such a good, any like creamy dressing with tons of herbs. Yeah. I have a delicious rendition of a green sort of ranch green goddess combo in my book Tartine All Day.
Yeah, of course. One of my favorites.
And that has the carrot tops in it. Everybody use your carrot tops. Just cleaned, and then because they can get kind of sandy, and then finely chopped, and they're really delicious, and they're kind of a little bit on the bitter side, which again I like with a lot of these foods that are richer.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. And then of course you also have this beautiful and you have a Lebanese lunch, and you found a way to introduce color into a very difficult theme.
Hummus and pita, not a ton of color.
I mean, if I could only use watermelon radishes in any of my bakery books, because everything is just like brown. And what is this one that's swirled here?
Yeah, so that's a beet, roasted beets that are pureed and mixed with a little bit of just, thick Greek yogurt to lighten it a little bit. And
that acid and the sour with the sweet.
Yeah, and those pine nuts, toasted pine nuts on top for a little bit of crunch.
Do you do your own cheese? Is this cheese and olive oil, I'm assuming?
That's the, I think that's the hummus. With olive oil. Yeah.
No, this one. Right. That right there.
Sorry. Right. Oh, the other jar. Yes. Okay, so that cheese is a fantastic store-bought product that I love.
That's the one I thought. I love that one.
You probably know it. Yeah.
It's so good.
So good.
It sounds so lazy, but I'm telling you, everybody.
Oh.
I mean, you can do your own, but there's a very particular texture this one has. So it's, for those who haven't had it, it's in a jar like that big, and it's I think a combo of olive oil and canola maybe, but it has herbs in it, and it's just perfect cubes of goat cheese.
And they're so soft and creamy.
They're soft and creamy and spreadable, but they off this watering again. But they have they hold their shape when they're cold. Such a good product.
Fantastic.
Do you remember the name brand of that one?
I want to say it's Meredith Dairy, maybe.
I have one in my fridge.
Yeah. I think it's mentioned in the back of the book. There's a whole list of my favorite sources for,
nice.
Tinned fish and cheese. And I know I mentioned that one because it's one of my favorites. So I think it's called Meredith Dairy. I have to look.
Oh, and there's a bigger
yeah
beauty shot of that one.
Hey, Marie and Liz.
Hey.
I came back. We are getting closer to the end. I just want to make sure that you've done such a good job of trying to grab some of the questions in the chat. I want to pull out a few more, try to get as many as we can today. Lots of questions about the composing of your board. Can you sort of walk us through the egg situation? Both Darcy and Tina have questions in the chat. For the perfect hard-boiled egg, once you reach 7 minutes, how do you cool the eggs? Do you put them in cold water? Do you remove them from hot water? Like, what are all the steps for your perfect
that's a good question.
egg?
Yeah, we didn't really finish the egg part. I was just so focused on that 7 minutes.
It was so good. And there were a lot of people that were like, ooh, yes, we want to make those.
It's such a great recipe because you can, you just set the timer, you cook them, and then I don't worry too much about how long they're cooled or if it's ice water or cool water. I think in the recipe, I say to put them in an ice bath for 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. But to tell you the truth, when I made these earlier today, I just take the pot and pour off all the hot water into the sink and then fill it with cool water from the tap, right back into the pot. No ice. And it works just as well. So don't stress too much about the cooling part. It's really the cooking time that is the more important aspect of the recipe. And then once they've cooled a little bit, if you can try them a little warm, that's how I love to eat them. So don't let them cool too long before you crack them. And then, but then don't slice into it until right before, because they're best when freshly cut. And then of course you can't forget to put a little bit of pepper, freshly ground pepper
on top of the egg.
On top. And then some good flaky salt. This is another kind of whole deep dive rabbit hole I could go into of store-bought products that I love. This is, I think, Jacobsen flaky salt, but Malden is really good. There's tons to explore and fall in love with, and just a few flakes of salt on top, and that's it. That's
the perfect egg.
Perfect egg.
Yeah. If anyone else has questions they'd like to submit or have answered, now is the time. We'll try to get through as many of those as we can. And you can send them through the Q&A button at the bottom.
So I'll ask, like, while you're looking for another question, is Maria, when you're actually putting your board together, is there a particular artistic point of view that you follow? Do you have what's your method for doing that?
Yeah, that's such a good question, Liz. I think it's really fun to find a beautiful board. I want to show you this one. And you can use anything. In our house, we use baking sheets sometimes on a really casual meal, but this one's a really pretty wood board. And so once you've found what you're going to use, and it's fun to use like a bunch of little bowls and dishes. And the great thing about boards is you don't need plates. Yeah, just like that. Yeah, you can have fun with putting together things. I don't love to do a super matchy thing. So like in that case, the platter is a totally different pattern, just for a little variety is nice. And then in terms of the way that you're putting the food onto the board, it does matter. Looks do matter for sure, because I think that with boards especially, we kind of eat with our eyes first. We're looking at it, it's beautiful, and so take a little bit of care in the way that you put everything down, but have it feel really natural. Let the food kind of fall where it falls, and rather than like tweezering things into place, keep it really loose. And I love to let things kind of break the edge of the platter. So you might have like a radish green kind of falling off the side. That's beautiful. It looks natural. It feels effortless, and is, I think, a little bit more appealing.
Now you also have, I should mention, just overall in the book, you have vegan options. You have plenty of vegetarian options. You have a gluten-free cauliflower pakora that I cannot wait to make.
I want to cook that for you, Liz.
Oh, I want you to cook it for me. Okay. It's a date.
Okay.
And you also have seafood. You have a beautiful oyster platter with, should I make this a teaser? It is a way of making mignonette that I had never seen before. You have one secret edition, and if you want to talk about it, you can, or people can buy the book.
I love that. A surprise. I love that.
Yeah, I loved that. And if you're good at shucking oysters, and then also like this, these beautiful onigiri, and so many different, I think what really stands out in particular about your book is that it's not just preserved meats and cheeses with some accompaniments.
Exactly.
You really cover different cultures. You cover so many different flavor profiles, and you have sweet stuff in here too, I should mention.
Yeah, every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert.
Classic Scandinavian.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I almost forgot to say that you have a whole sweets chapter. And you have a cookie swap. What a great idea. I love that idea.
That's another one where I would for sure go to Tartine, buy some, little cookies.
Buy some cookies to
Add
swap.
them to the board. Yeah.
Some homemade components or
s'mores without the campfire. So cute. What a great idea.
There's a pretty epic chocolate board. I don't know if you can find that page, Liz. It has each chapter has one of those big party size boards that serve 8 to 10. And the desserts one is the chocolate board, chocolate deluxe. And it has chocolate in every form you could want. Chocolate dipped strawberries, chocolate brownies, chocolate with hazelnut dip. I
did see it, and then I can't find it. Yeah, the chocolate deluxe, there it is. Oh, I just had it right there. So you have all of that. And then, but wait, there's more. There's all of that. Yeah, what a fantastic idea for like after your first board, you just bring this out and it's like irresistible.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
So
Beautiful book. Really well done.
Thank you, Liz. That means so much coming from you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Do we have more questions or are we out of time?
There are a few more questions. Would you mind taking a few more?
Yeah, not at all.
Okay, so some folks are asking if they can see your finished board, and if you could review the ingredients that you used for all of our enthusiastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I haven't cut the sandwiches, but as we mentioned, you would just cut these into little bite-sized sandwiches. So we have the prosciutto one that we did with olive oil and balsamic, but you could do ham and butter, very classic French. And then this is the vegetarian option with the roasted squash. Can you see that okay? I hope.
Yep.
I don't want it to slide down. Why don't I just turn this a little bit?
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got the 2 sandwiches, and then I would just cut those up. And then a good French cheese. This is a raw sheep's milk cheese. And I should mention that when you put cheese on a board like this, you'll need a cheese knife to go with it. If it's this, firm, you're going to want to cut a few slices. It's better if there are a few slices already cut when you serve it rather than the whole block of cheese. Yeah, because you want people to feel like they can just grab one and it won't mess with the board, the way the board looks. I also, one of my favorite tricks is with olives. If you have olives and you have a little dish for the pits, to eat one olive and put a pit in the dish so that people don't feel like they're the first one.
That's a very good hostess tip.
Important hostess tips, yes.
Yeah. And then this board has these eggs too. You can see those.
They look delicious.
Those perfect 7 minutes.
Someone says a good tip.
Yeah. Oh, good. And then the radishes, and these I would cut into halves. If they're small, if they're really small, you could just leave them whole. Some radishes are just beautiful whole. The greens, of course, are edible. And I love to leave a little bit of green. Maybe just one leaf is really nice.
Yeah. Radishes.
And then the last thing on here is some pickles. So this is just like, you can just use this brand. This is a French, just kind of a standard brand, but of course find some pickles that you love. And you can just put it the jar the way it is, just like that.
Right there on the board.
Right on the board. And then just think about how people are going to eat it. So if you have something like this, then you want to be sure to put a few little toothpicks or something to grab the pickles from, and a little knife for the cheese. And that is the full board there.
It's beautiful, Maria.
Oh,
absolutely beautiful.
Good. Thanks, Liz.
And Maria does have a recipe for a quick pickle in her book as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Liz is right. Having some kind of like vinegary tart pickle on a board is something that I love. So there's like pickled red onions. You can do quick pickled vegetables. Having that little brightness is so welcome on a board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And somebody was saying it's definitely Meredith. Where the cheese.
Thank you for finding that. Yes, that is everyone try that. I love that cheese.
Let's see, there's just one more question, I think. Someone is asking, Liz, actually, who is the author of the butter book? There's that you were mentioning.
It's Elaine Kozrova, Khosrova.
Oh, there we go.
I gotta check that out.
It sounds like really like a lovely exploration. So
yeah, it's very all-encompassing, and it really dives deep. It's a wonderful book. I highly recommend it.
Well, I am feeling absolutely famished now.
Me too.
And eat one of those little tartines that you put together with the ham or the squash. They look delicious. That's all we have time for tonight, but it was so lovely meeting both of you. Thank you so much, Maria and Liz, for joining us tonight, talking us through the beautiful Parisienne board. and sharing all of your tips and wisdom. I feel like I learned so much just hearing you both chat.
Thank you so much for hosting, and thank you, Liz, for your brilliant questions and for being an inspiration to all of us. I'm really, really honored to have gotten to do this. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. And it was really my pleasure. You know that I love everything that you do.
Likewise.
And I will interview you forever.
Gotta get that in writing. All
And
right.
Booklarder, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And thanks to all of our wonderful audience members for all those thoughtful questions. Thanks for joining us tonight. Again, Boards, Platters, Plates, as well as Maria's other book, One Bowl Meals, are both available at booklarder.com. You can support this author talk by purchasing a copy from us or from your favorite independent bookstore. And also, if you know anyone that missed tonight's author talk, or if you want to watch it back to remember what cheeses we were talking about, this talk will be posted on our YouTube channel within 48 hours. So please do check that out. And if you registered, you will also get a follow-up email with a link to that YouTube video. All right, well, that's all we have time for tonight. Again, thank you so much. Have a good night.
Well,
I hope to see you.
Thank you so much.
have a good night.
Take care. Good night.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.